or one of our users would like some help making this drawing just a little easier to work with. If we zoom out, you can see that there are a number of image files that are put as a background here. First thing I do is to create a new layer, and we'll call the new layer image or images, because there are several of them, and we'll select each of these image files and we'll move them onto that new images layer. What that means, of course, is that at any time we can quickly turn that layer off. So what we have is the background aerial photograph with the plans for a house to be drawn in the, or placed rather, in the center of that allotment. I noticed that when we went here to layers, that line weights here I think are set a little too thick. That's a personal view, but if we turn line weights on, you can see the line weights coming in. So clearly, well, in my view, clearly these are a little too thick, and that indicates in that zone through there, maybe the doorways have been made really thick. I find that a little difficult to work with, and I would be inclined at this stage to just select the first and turn that into default. Then holding your shift key down, click and pick default. Again, click the bottom one and pick default. Now all of the line weights associated with that layer return to default. That makes life just a little bit easier. The other thing, and when I get in here, the doorway looks to be, probably its line weight is set at 2 millimeters. So the line weight of that block has been set implicitly, and I'd be inclined to edit that block. It's now selected. I can't edit it because in fact it's not a block, it's a line set implicitly. So again, I'm going to return that to by layer, then I'll use the modify and match properties tool, pick that, and there, and there. Not quite sure what that line represents, possibly a sliding door, but I'm not so sure what it represents on this side. The same applies to the line denoting the boundary, which is also very thick. Just for the moment, I will leave it. There seems to be a discrepancy, doesn't there, in this area through here. Maybe the boundary line, which has been drawn with a polyline, you might like to right click and insert vertex, right click insert vertex, and what you could do here is just move that vertex, so we're tweaking things. We just get a better alignment of the proposed property boundary ties to the image file. I also noticed that if we look at blocks, some of the individual blocks have their base point well away. So if we start here with this block, we scroll down, here we find one that can be deleted, so let's delete all unused blocks, and we'll OK, and we're left with a few other blocks. We are reducing them. I'll close it, and let's just save the drawing, close, and reopen the very same drawing, go back to blocks, and now we can delete that unused block there. One has gone. Now all of the blocks in this drawing are indeed in the drawing. We don't have any unused blocks, so we've tidied the drawing up just a little. The two blue lines that we see here are obviously represent water coming in. It's useful to know the length of water piping that you require, so what we'll do is to join those together, and because I had let the current layer being the images layer, and I should have made that on layer 0, these two are now selected. I'd take the opportunity to put that back to by layer just for the moment. We can always change the thickness of the water layer, and notice the line type scale here is 20. That might influence things in a moment when we change the line type itself, but we need to move it onto the water layer. So there we are. We now have a fine line showing through here. We could come to here. Here's the water layer, and just set, just to make things a bit easier to see as we're working with it, and I'll make it obvious for you. I've now made the layer 0.5mm. Can you see that what was happening here was there was a mixture? Sometimes the colour and line thickness was set implicitly, like this one. Its colour is by layer, but its line type is set at 1mm. And in other instances, we were controlling things by layer, so we're controlling the thickness of this line by layer. Much better to use one system or the other rather than mix them up. Next, I'd like to change the line type pattern for that blue layer, and if I pick there and go to line type, here it's continuous. Can you see there are no extra line types loaded here? So somehow that's been missed. So if we pick line types here, click on the load line type option, and we'll pick the gCAD ISO line type pattern, and we can say OK. Sorry, I'll do that again. We can pick all these new line types and we'll load the whole lot. Now when we pick the polyline, we can set its line type to whatever we want. Maybe we want a dot pattern, and as we zoom in you can see the pattern doesn't show properly. The line type there will revert that to a line type of 1. That's not doing it for us, so we're looking for dots. We'll just change to a dash dot. Again, that's not showing, so I think the line type scale is definitely wrong. So let's go way up and we'll try 300, and that looks a lot better. Unselect. So there's our dot dash pattern running through. So you have to experiment with line type scales. We do the same for the boundary. Now I think we've got a drawing that's a little easier to work with. Let's revert to working all the time by layer as far as colour and line thickness is concerned, and we can now hopefully go here, and we've got a few layers we don't need. Just select those layers. There's nothing on those layers, so we can get rid of those. But what we do need to do is turn off the image layer, and now we're left with our site and our building in the center of the site. The access road will come down here. You may remember seeing a couple of buildings here. Now again, for mine, that's a little too thick to work with, but in the short term we can just turn off line weight. I'd probably change my background color to white and start working like so, because now I can take advantage of my symbols and bringing them into the drawing. I would note though that this site will require boundary planting, and I would be inclined to use broad scale planting symbols. So we just have rather generic new trees, new small shrubs, new large shrub, and so on. And I'll show how they are used in a later video. So I hope that's helped this particular user work neatly with his drawing in an effective way.